Hi, this is the Business Guy. In this video, we're going to talk about how we put together an asset protection plan, what to do for liquid assets, for real estate, and we're going to show exactly what we do and the thought process that goes into it. So when you call us, you'll be more prepared, you'll know what to discuss, and you'll be more educated. So let's talk about what we do. First of all, we find out what assets a prospective client has. For example, do you have liquid assets, stock market investments, cash in a bank? What about real estate? And if you have real estate, let's list the real estate and the equity in each piece of property. How much is each piece of property worth when you take the value minus the mortgage? So that's what we talk about. Do you have any vehicles? What are they worth? What about business interests? Is that a company? Is it in your name? And what kind of equipment do you have within the business? So we get all that information, and that way we put each asset in the proper slot. Okay, so what are those different slots we put each asset into? Let's talk about liquid cash first. What's the best way to protect liquid cash? The best way to protect liquid cash is in an asset protection trust, like an international asset protection trust. Why? Because when your money is in an international asset protection trust, and the U.S. courts, or if you're not in the U.S., the courts where you're located, order you to turn over the funds, we have our law firm that can step in to protect you. And since your local courts don't have jurisdiction over our foreign law firm, your money sits there safe and secure. And as a background, I'm the CEO of Lawyers Limited and Asset Protection Planners. I've been in the business for 31 years. Lawyers Limited started in 1906. We have attorneys on staff and are the largest asset protection company in the nation. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we would do with a client's assets. Let's take a look at the liquid assets. Let's go ahead and turn to the iPad now. Okay, for liquid assets, the strongest legal tool in the world is the Cook Islands or Nevis Trust. Okay, now the trust exists. Here's the trust. I just put a circle around the trustee law firm. So this rectangle represents the Cook Islands Trust. Okay, so the reason why we use the Cook Islands Trust is the most trusted jurisdiction in the world. If you look at the Global Corruption Perceptions Index, you'll see that New Zealand is the most trusted jurisdiction in the world. I think it ties with Denmark and Norway. And Cook Islands is part of New Zealand. So we're talking about the most trusted jurisdiction in the world. The rule of law is followed to the T. The trustee law firm is regulated to the hilt. They're licensed, bonded, insured, tremendous background checks, and have an incredible track record for protecting client assets. So inside your trust, we put an LLC, and we typically set up this LLC in the Caribbean island of Nevis. Why? Because it offers the best protection. We set up a bank account in the LLC's name. We make you the manager of the LLC and the signatory on the bank account. So when the bad thing happens, the trustee over here can step in to protect you. And again, it's a trustee/law firm, so multiple attorneys will be able to jump in to protect your assets. They must act in unison, so any one person can't make any decisions. They must act as a cohesive group. So it's very safe, very secure. I have a Cook Islands Trust myself. Our law firm's the only signature on my funds. And it's been very, very safe and secure. I sleep like a baby knowing my assets are safe and secure. And you can have the same peace of mind as well. Just give us a call, fill out a free consultation form at assetprotectionplanners.com to learn more. So that's how we handle liquid assets. Now, even if the trustee steps in, which they don't need to initially, you can look at your account online, you can trade stock like I do all the time. So you have access to your funds, but your enemy at law does not. Okay, now what about real estate? What about assets that are domestic, that are held within, let's say, the U.S., or if you're in Australia or the U.K., wherever you are? What do you do about those type of assets? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we do with real estate. Okay, for real estate, we need to separate it into separate tax categories. There's your personal residence, and that's one tax bucket. And then there's investment property, that's another tax bucket. Different tax rules apply, so we need to treat them separately. So for the personal residence, for privacy of ownership, we put it into a land trust. And the reason we do that is privacy of ownership. When somebody looks in the public records, they don't see your name associated with real estate. That's why we put the real estate into separate land trusts, so you have privacy of ownership. Okay, now with the personal residence, if you have equity in it, unless you live in a state that has significant equity protection, homestead protection, we also record a lien against the property payable to an LLC initially. That LLC may be the international LLC that's in your offshore trust, same LLC. And then if needed, we have a third-party lender who can purchase that lien and then put the proceeds into your offshore trust that we just talked about, okay? So that way, the proceeds are safe and secure. So initially, it's an equity line of credit, lien, So there's no money changing hands and it's payable to your own LLC. Then if needed, we have a third-party lender come in and purchase that mortgage and put the proceeds in a you can't touch it account in your offshore trust so it's safe and secure. We may even involve a living trust so you have estate planning. And the nice thing is the offshore trust also has robust estate planning provisions as well. Okay, so let's look at investment property. Real estate that you hold for income producing purposes or second homes. What do you do with that? In that case, what we do is we take the piece of property and we put it into a land trust for privacy of ownership. Now, with investment property, we also involve an LLC, limited liability company, to act as the beneficiary of that land trust. Now, land trusts are not lawsuit protection, asset protection devices, they're privacy devices. In order to have asset protection, we need to get the LLC involved, and then we make the LLC beneficiary of that land trust. So you have the asset protection when you're sued personally. There are provisions in the law to protect that LLC and anything inside it from being taken away from you. And you also have lawsuit protection if there's a lawsuit on that property itself. The LLC can protect you from losing your personal assets in a lawsuit that happens within this particular property. Now, I have to say that nothing we say on this video is legal advice. This is general information only. It's not tailored to anybody specifically. We do have attorneys on staff who may be able to help, so don't take this as legal or tax advice. Talk to an attorney or a CPA for that. Okay, now going on with the limited liability company as the beneficiary of the land trust, what about the equity in the property if there's a lawsuit on this property itself? What we do to protect the equities is we use the LLC that's inside of your asset protection trust or another LLC, for example, in Wyoming we can use, and we record an equity line of credit mortgage against the property. Okay, so that's an equity line of credit, no money's changing hands, and then again, if needed, in about 1% of the cases we need to do this, we have a third-party lender go in there and purchase that mortgage and put the proceeds from the mortgage into your offshore asset protection trust. So that way your property is protected when you're sued personally, and you're also protected when there's a lawsuit on the property itself, and the property itself is protected because we strip the equity out of the property. So if there's a whole bunch of real estate, what we do, let's go ahead and go down here, we put each property into a separate land trust, you see. Every property is in its own land trust. Your personal residence is in a land trust. And then for the investment property, we put those into separate LLCs. That way, if there's any lawsuit on any one particular property like this one here, it doesn't jump on and take all of your other properties as well. See, they're all separated and segmented because each one is in a separate land trust and each land trust has a separate LLC as a beneficiary. And then in turn, we employ equity stripping strategies where we have an LLC, record equity line of credit mortgages against each property. And initially, this is your LLC, typically inside of your offshore asset protection trust. And then if needed, we have a third-party lender purchase those mortgages and then put the proceeds into your offshore trust. So now you have a third-party lender involved and the judge can't say, well, that's just you lending to you. That way we get a third-party lender if needed, if we need to strengthen the structure. Now let's say it's something else. Let's say it's vehicles, airplanes we've protected, those kind of things. We do a similar strategy where we put the asset into an LLC and then we record UCC1 liens against it. With real estate, it's a mortgage or deed of trust you record against the property. And then with personal property, well, things like cars, tractors, bulldozers, we use a UCC1 lien, and that's recorded against the property to use that asset as security and to pull out the equity. So that's how we set up a plan for a client. We talked about how to protect liquid assets. We talked about how to protect real estate, business equipment, if you have a business, vehicles, and so on. We talked about how to protect all the assets so you can sleep like a baby knowing that your assets are safe and secure. If you have questions, give us a call at 1-954-400-1050 or visit assetprotectionplanners.com and speak with one of our attorneys and consultants. We'd love to hear from you. Please click like so YouTube promotes this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with others. Thanks for watching. This is The Business Guy.